Okay. So, this this is pretty funny. So this is the latest. Big video game flop. You got 1348X. I forgot the rest of the fucking name, but the point is that this game is basically about like lesbian knights, and for some reason they gave the main character the haircut ever. Fucking that is the word. I'm sorry, but honestly, that was the biggest thing that caught my attention when I first, because I watched Asmongold play the game on stream. Vado, there, 1348X Vado. I watched Asmongold play the game, and that was the first thing that caught my attention, was the haircut. I don't know why they gave her that haircut. They did her dirty with that cut. But that's besides the point. This game is a massive flop. We're gonna see. Rev is obviously he's gonna show the receipts, but you know we'll talk a little bit more as we go, right? But yeah, this game was a massive flop. It is fucking embarrassing.
Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here. So it might only be March, but at this point, it's very clear that 1348X Voto is a front runner for flop of the year. It's only been 3 days since its release, but since then, the experience can only be described as a slow-moving car crash that is very deserved for a project like this that leaned so heavily into activism and owning the chuds. In fact, during these 3 days, we've been able to step back from this disaster and really appreciate not only the shortcomings of this game on its face, but also get to witness the seething and coping from activists, journalists, shills, and alike, who are still trying to prop up this turd as something that is salvageable and actually really good, and something that we need even more of. Now, this game had modern audience written all over it, right? The main protagonist is a lesbian knight in a medieval setting with a bowl haircut, trying to save her damsel in distress.
I'm sorry, chat. I can accept a lesbian knight in the medieval era. Like, it would never happen, by the way. But I could accept that. But the haircut, you got me with the haircut. Like, goddamn. Couldn't you give her something better? Why'd you give her the fucking...
It checked all the boxes for the
why you do that?
there. So the question became, will the modern audience show up when it was releasing on March 12th?
$500 that they didn't.
Because so many viral tweets out there were not only supporting this game, but claiming they were looking forward to its release.
Yep.
Now, of course, a lot of you already know.
Saw a lot of
the
those.
answer to this question, did the modern audience show up? Well, I guess this is what the modern audience looks like, ladies and gentlemen. 133 concurrent in-game players on the third day since its release. An absolute flop. In fact, it peaked at about 427 total in-game players. A massive disaster. To give you some perspective, here's Stellar Blade, right? Its PC release came out 9 months ago. This is a single-player game, right? And it's sitting at 2,700 in-game players right now.
Yeah, that's pretty
That
good.
is the comparison points that really shows you how bad things are for 1348X Voto. But wait, be careful when you're using Steam charts for games like X Voto or Marathon for that example, because ex-Kotaku journalist Alyssa Mercante took a break from her current lawsuit with Smash JT to leave this absolute banger on Blue Sky. Basically saying people who use Steam charts are not only smelly, they're also the type of person who would try to drug women and assault them.
Well, that's one hell of a fucking leap, ain't it? You heard it here, guys. If you look at stats, you're probably a rapist. Shit. I don't remember asking you for your opinion. I would have preferred if you just focused on your lawsuit.
Yeah, apparently if you use Steam charts...
Alright, Smash can take one for the team, alright?
You're a potential criminal, according to people like Alyssa Mercante. Totally unhinged, by the way. But yeah, the story with 1348X Voto is very simple. This is a game that really existed to impress a bunch of activists. It didn't exist to impress gamers. It was a very niche story that did not pan out well. The game itself is an absolute disaster. And to make matters worse, they really leaned heavily into the activists. They even tried to attack Knight's Path, which is a game in the same genre that's going to be coming out somewhat soon. And they lost that battle immediately. They picked the fight, and they got absolutely humiliated. At the end of the day, all they could do to promote this game was lean on the fact that it has a very progressive storyline. Turns out people don't really care about that. And ever since the release on the 12th, 1348X Voto on its once very smug and active Twitter account has been completely silent and just taking a beating. However, fans and activists who supported this game, both from near and afar, have been mourning the fate of this game, including users like this saying, "I'm so sad about the lesbian night game." Unironically, okay? But this person is sad about the failure of 1348X Voto getting 4,500 likes, which...
I quote retweeted that. I'm pretty sure it's that exact tweet, and basically, I said that I like how do these tweets get 4K likes and the game it's barely getting 400 at its peak. Like, what? If those 4,000 likes, but those 4,000 people won't play the fucking game.
As pointed out
beautiful
by
stuff.
This individual here, this post has more likes than people playing the game. In fact, I will go even further. That tweet has about 10 times as many likes as the all-time player concurrent counts it ever achieved. So it just shows you the activism, the slacktivism is the better term here, because these people will make viral tweets, people will like these tweets, but never actually go out and support the game. Many, many such cases. This is an example of someone showing up. Who did show up? The modern audience. Who is the modern audience? Very few people in reality, right? The modern audience is represented by activism, not actual participation in the projects they claim to support. Here's another quote, this time from Endymion, saying, "B1348X Voto, make fun of Knight's Path, their competitor. Game releases and it's garbage. Even supporters can't defend it. Game ends with two lesbians fighting." We'll get back to this point in just a second, but overall, that whole...
How terribly ironic. If you don't know why that's ironic, I'll tell you when you're older, my son.
Concept of this being a game focusing on a lesbian relationship is something games journalists are still hyper focusing on, even in the aftermath of its disastrous release. And understand and keep in mind, people who support the game are referring to it as the lesbian night game. That's not just people making fun of it. Even supporters are referring to this game with such a title. However, games journalists are doing what games journalists do best, and that is try to spin the narrative. Where this article says, I've got a bone to pick with the internet. Specifically, the corner of the internet that's very angry 1348X Voto exists. You see, all this time I've been unironically referring to it by its alternative title coined by its earliest detractors, the lesbian night game, which is very funny. We know this is a lie. It's not just people making fun of it. Even supporters are referring to the game under this title, and also nobody's angry that this game exists. People are making fun of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody like claiming to be angry about the existence of this game. I've only seen people making fun of it because it's such a bad fucking game. Just a bad game. People People aren't upset about his existence. It's just a bad game, and bad games are gonna get made fun of. Shocker, I know. You know, people are a bunch of assholes on the internet.
It is trying to pander to the modern audience. It has no
Bingo.
substance beyond that. And even, as we'll see eventually, even supporters and games journalists have to recognize that this game is an absolute disaster when it comes to quality of not only the gameplay, but the story as well. But seeing this sort of discussion here and reframing of the truth and hyperfixation on the lesbian romance, it makes a lot more sense when you realize this is the article it's coming from PC Games N. 2026's Lesbian Night game 1348X Voto is short on lesbians. 1348X Voto has been under fire for its quote-unquote woke protagonist since the demo dropped, but it turns out it actually isn't gay enough. Wow.
It's not gay enough. It needs to be gayer.
Stunning and brave article. They're saying that it needed to have even more.
It's lacking in the homosexuality department.
Say a lot of it is more tension filled and teasing than like in your face romance. And according to the author,
A hot take, but I think that's actually the best way to do it. All right. I like a little bit of tension. All right.
this is not enough. They want more. And just like with the article explaining some of the content, the author of this article explains what we're reading. I mean, just look at the bio of this individual. Like, it all makes sense why we're pushing this sort of an angle. It's not even, like, remotely subtle. But let's go back to the article, right? They start talking about the plots and the fact that medieval records of lesbianism are scarce, but we know that they existed. Oh, right.
Ah, so the records of medieval lesbianism existing are scarce, but you know that it you know for a fact that it existed. Makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. Pretty sound logic there.
Hey guys, have you ever heard of this before? Where there is a very rare anomaly during a period of historical time, and someone tries to make a game based on that, focusing on the anomalies and the rare occurrences of that historical time period, and it doesn't work out. Does that sound familiar? It should, because it reminds me of a certain bisexual African samurai named Yap.
Bisexual? Yeah, I don't know why they did it, but they made Yasuke they made him kind of fucking gay. They made Yasuke kind of gay for some reason. I don't know why they did it. Why they make my boy zesty?
Yasuke, who like to shag non-binary samurais. Yeah, they did the exact thing that this author is acknowledging for 1348X Voto. They took something from a historical time period that was an incredible anomaly.
It'd be like that
samurai, for example, and then they used it and tried to insert it into its own agenda and make the entire game about how unique it is given the environment the game is taking place in. But you know, I give credit to Assassin's Creed Shadows, despite, you know, the many failures of this game and the fact that it basically tanked Ubisoft or really helped bring them to the cusp of the end. They're still sitting at 5,000 in-game players right now. This game is certainly a lot more active than 1348X Voto. Not that it was ever a fair comparison, but they would pretty much do anything to even have this sort of a number on their release, but they never even came close. In fact, at this point, if I was the developers of 1348X Voto, I'd be trying everything in my power.
Put the fries in the bag.
DLC featuring Assassin's Creed Shadows or something, you know, just start crossing up the lesbian knights with the non-binary samurais, you know, have a whole shindig, a whole box-checking shindig, if you will. But let's talk about that romance in 1348X Voto, right? Whatever happened?
Oh boy!
What was actually the final tail end of this story? Well, as pointed out here, quoting the last post made by their official account, apparently the game ends with the lesbian couple trying to violently off each other.
Look I said, chat, it's horribly ironic. If you're trying to be pro LGBTQAIBCDEFGHIJKLMNOPQRSTUVWXYZ plus ending it with the lesbians violently trying to kill each other, you know, probably not the best. Probably not the best option to go with there, you know. Yeah, we all know the stats on abusive relationships among lesbians. All right, we know the stats. Ending it like that, not the greatest look. Not the greatest look out there. You know, it could be worse, I suppose, but not the greatest look.
What did the developers of this game mean by that? I have absolutely no idea. But let's continue on here, right? There's something to really add salt to the wound. In fact, this is one of many things that do such an act. This person points out that after you finish that scene, right, the cherry on top is that you can't skip the end credits, but you can skip over every other cutscene in the game.
Fucking assholes. They wanted to get that player time up so you can refund it.
The only thing you can't skip over is the credits. And there's no chapter replay. There's no new game plus. If you start from the previous save file, you're in the final checkpoint of the final boss. So you can't research for other trinkets or treasure. There's no combat dummy practice mode, no replayability features, nothing.
Wow.
The developers, as this person says, did they even play test this? I will say the new screen looks nice. Hey, there's something. The best thing I can say about the game is that the environmental artists have a future. You know what? That is one thing I have noticed from this game. Very good detail with the environment. So the people who are responsible for that, you get a clap from me. It looks nice.
Yeah, it does look pretty nice. Yeah.
Project to work on that will do a lot better, because I guess it really did disservice with the buggy gameplay and the terrible storytelling that was accompanying this game. But, you know, all of this is really reflected in the reviews as well. It's not just the poor numbers, ladies and gentlemen. It's also the reviews. You can see on SteamDB, to the chagrin of Alyssa Mercante here, you can look and see it has around a 50% rating from reviews. And it has nearly 500, so it's not like it's nothing, right? It's a pretty sizable chunk of people. And if you want to know how bad things are, if you really want to know how bad things are for this game, one of the top reviews on the community tab here says this: "Never in my 28 years of gaming have I found something that feels like a sloppy alpha version of a bad game that was handled by a pack of drunken, dry beavers. No one, and I mean no one, probably knew what to do, and they watched a couple of bad tutorial for UE and decided, I'm gonna make a lovely game about a girl knight with dead eyes and teeth from Attack on Titan. $20 is $30 too much for this game." And this would get 440 reviews marked as helpful. 440 people would find this review as helpful. 440 being more than the all-time concurrent player count for this game.
Damn.
That is how savage the situation is. And even the person who made the initial tweet sad about the failure of this game, even people like that, even the supporters, recognize that the PC release of this game is an absolute buggy disaster. In fact, this is one of the funniest things I saw. The devs were so lazy, they didn't even make a fall death animation.
Oh yeah, I saw this as well.
It literally just cuts. It almost looks like you're going into a cutscene, like you did something good, because it ends so abruptly with just a black screen. You think you did something good at that point, but it's just laziness at this point. And to add more salt into the wound, I said there'd be more.
So this game was $30, huh? Jeez Louise. Wherever Louise is.
As pointed out by Smash JT here, the Italian government, based on public records, gave 650,000 euros in tax credits to the development team behind this.
Money well spent? Question mark?
I feel like sometimes I'm just in the wrong business. Like, if I want like a really nice vacation, I should just make a very progressive game and put it in like a really beautiful scenic part of the world and try to get some write-offs and some tax credits and just really coast, you know? Maybe even crowdfund the entire thing, because that seems to be the ultimate way to spend your time in a very leisurely way, because at the end of the day, I guess who cares about the product if you're getting all these benefits in the meanwhile? But things are so bad, even the aptly named gaming Bible would give this a 30 on Metacritic, saying it does sadden me that the game turned out this way, as I fear a certain dark corner of the internet will use this game's negative reception to push an unwarranted agenda, namely that the game's failure is tied to the assumed relationship of the two female leads, which...
Assumed? I think it's pretty clear. But hold on. Go back a minute.
For getting all these benefits in the meanwhile. But things are so bad, even the aptly named gaming Bible would give this a 30 on Metacritic, saying it does sadden me that the game...
Honestly, kind of surprising.
Turned out this way, as I fear a certain dark corner of the internet will use this game's negative reception to push an unwarranted agenda, namely that the game's failure is tied to the assumed relationship of the two female leads, which, of course, is not the case. It's difficult to overlook 1348X Voto's flaws, though. While there are some charming performances on display, it's ultimately let down by a dull and problematic combat system and poor optimization that doesn't really give you any incentive to push on with what is, sadly, a slog. Yeah, so the gaming Bible seems very mad about people making fun of the lesbian relationship, which is pretty ironic. But also, overall, even the journalists could not support this.
No.
54 Metacritic among the critic reviewers, and among user ratings, it's sitting at a whopping 1.1, which seems like 1.1 too much.
Ooh.
Now, of course, we can't forget about the fact that this game pitted itself.
Good lord.
Fights with Knight's Path. With this.
That is not a smart move. I guarantee that Knight's Path is going to do a lot better. That is not good.
Subtweet saying don't forget to wishlist and note the release date on your modern agenda, which was a clear shot at Knight's Path, a game that is in the medieval genre as well. And they picked this fight because, in a viral tweet, responding to a question about having LGBTQ representation in their game, they said, "We care about gaming and fun, not modern agendas."
Mega fucking based, by the way. Like, unfathomably based.
And of course, we saw people angry at that, the same people who were claiming they were going to support 1348X Voto, saying blazing the dude bros is never a good idea. They will hype you up on here, but they will never buy your product. Meanwhile, queer people are the ones who make fan art, fanfics, which keep your fandom alive and actually buy and support your products, such a dumb hill to die on.
Well, where are the queers for 1348? I don't see them. I don't see them. Where are they at?
Well, this tweet, like I said last time, would be perfect if this was an opposite day. Literally everything they're saying.
Yeah, literally, if you switched the order around, it would be accurate.
Is the opposite.
Zero self-awareness.
Supporting games like 1348X Voto, who do so only in sort of brownie points on Twitter, by tweeting about it and liking tweets about it, but not actually buying the game. And it seems like Knight's Path, that was forced into a fight with this previous game, is doing just fine. It seems like the dude bros are showing up. The trailer has over 500,000 views with an overwhelming positive reception. In fact, the only thing people are mad about when it comes to this game is that the female characters are too attractive. This made people absolutely lash out on social media because they hated that this character was attractive, unlike
That's a good problem to have, baby.
the acceptable versions in 1348X Voto. Well, here's what I believe. What I believe is a jab in many ways towards 1348X Voto. Knight's Path just announced that their wish list has now reached 350,000 total requests. 350,000, ladies and gentlemen. But here's where I think it was a jab. They announced this instead of using a graphic like they normally do, just like, you know, a screenshot from the game with a thanks for the 350K, they showed proof of this number. The actual wish lists reaching over 350,000. Why is that important? Well, this data is not public. This is in the user interface for the developers. Only the developers can produce these numbers. 1348X Voto on the day of release said they crossed 250,000 wish lists, which many people believe was a lie, and they did not provide proof. And people believe that was a way of them trying to increase the hype surrounding the game. But as you can see, Knight's Path did something they haven't done so far with their previous wishlist announcements. They actually came out with a screenshot of their internal user face, or
unfathomably based chat. Holy shit.
There's no room for debate or guessing. They are confirming it. And that is really the cherry on top, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait for this game to come out.
Oh, man.
A ton of support, and it's going to be just another round of content, another classic parallel here. Like, which way, Western man? Are you going to support 1348X Voto? Absolutely not. Are you going to support Knight's Path, the Chud game? I have a feeling a lot of people are going to.
Sign me up. I love Chud games.
But for now, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, chat. So, I think overall, it's honestly just, you know, same old, fucking around and finding out, baby. Alright. sorry to be the breaker of bad news, but, it turns out that the Chuds are, not only the ones that show up, but they're the predominant market. Alright, the gamers are the ones that you want to appeal to. If you don't appeal to the gamers, your game is gonna flop. And this is just another example of it. And by the way, I actually like Yuri. I fucking like Yuri. Okay, Bloom Into You is peak. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear nothing about it. Bloom Into You is peak. That's a great anime. You guys should watch it. All right, it's peak. It's tier, as the kids say these days. And I've never understood how the West consistently fucks up Yuri, man. I don't know what I guess Japan is the only place that got the secret formula, because they consistently make a peak Yuri. The West, what you got? Lesbian space switches from Star Wars: The Acolyte and 1348X Voto. Yeah, you know, not exactly tier.
左右左右みたいな。これね。セイサー。セクセブン。オッケーオッケーオッケーオッケー。